For our trek into the Morocco desert, we have Gisaburo Sugii serving as director, joined by Hideki Mitsui and Naoya Azuma as writers. Lupin's joined this time by leading lady Lara, not Laura, voiced by Aya Hisakawa. Nachi Nozawa once again makes an appearance, this time voicing the assassin Sada Chiyo. Takayuki Negishi returns from Dead or Alive to once again compose for this movie, and our ending theme is Tsukito Taiyo no Megari, or Passage of the Moon and Sun, which is apparently popular among Miku Miku dance fans for, well, the dance that Lara performs. An aging thief and master of the French underground, Dalune, summons Lupin, who once trained as a thief under him. Lupin's handed the Twilight, a large, oddly cut diamond, apparently the key to a much bigger treasure in Morocco. Part of the journey is by international train, where Zenigata lies in wait, having gotten in thanks to the new commissioner Jean-Pierre. His master plan this time is to lure Lupin with an invitation to the dining car from a woman. Lupin spots the woman and they engage in small talk. Zenigata jumps in and it's revealed the entire train car is populated by police officers. Unfortunately for Lupin, this includes the woman. Unfortunately for the woman, Lupin's good at escaping, not that Zenigata's easily fooled. They get interrupted by another group that's also targeting Lupin. Lupin tries to escape across the train's roof but gets attacked by a helicopter. The group's leader, Sada Chiyo, then appears, stating his intent to just kill Lupin. Zenigata pops up, distracting Sada Chiyo long enough for Lupin to jump away. Despite his failure, Zenigata's granted authority to follow Lupin into Morocco. Lupin arrives and watches as a troupe tells the story of how the Gelt clan were driven underground by the Ego 100 years ago, with aid from English traders. The local police, being Ego descended, don't take too kindly and attempt an arrest. Revealed to be Gelt guerrillas, a young woman among the group catches Lupin's eye, so he aids her escape. Another group of Gelt hold a sermon, revealing Lupin's arrival in Morocco will serve as a means to restore their power. Night falls and Lupin spots Fujiko in a bar, going blonde for the first time since Cagliostro. She's curious as to why Lupin's there, but for once he keeps quiet about the treasure. Clearly a matter of utmost importance, as they manage to get all the way to a hotel room and he still won't talk. Unfortunately, Sada Chiyo decides to take the chance to attack. Lupin's already slipped away, however. Zenigata doesn't quite get the cooperation he was expecting from the local police, with his team consisting of an old man named Bull Tokari. Fujiko takes a walk through the market, still angry at being left to Sada Chiyo. A painting of a man who resembles Lupin catches her eye, but she's told it's Dalune, considered a hero for his actions 100 years prior. An old man then approaches her with a job. Lupin's summoned to a bookshop thanks to a note from Fujiko. He's then attacked by the Gelt as well as Sada Chiyo's forces, demanding the Twilight. Lupin escapes with the aid of a flashbang, but Sada Chiyo follows. Fortunately, Jigen manages to come in for the rescue, mentioning there's more to the Dalune story. Jean arrives in Morocco to oversee the Lupin case. The police chief instantly becomes more cooperative towards Zenigata upon his arrival. Meanwhile, Jigen takes Lupin to an old woman, having learned of her while digging for info on Dalune. She recognises the Twilight when Lupin presents it to her. It was originally owned by the dancer Lore, a member of the Gelt's royal family, who found Dalune wandering in the desert. He was serving in the French Foreign Legion at the time, and the two of them fell in love. This led to him helping the Gelt when the Ego and the English attacked, though it was a losing battle thanks to the English providing extra firepower. Lore split the diamond in two and gave half to Dalune as a keepsake as the war was closing. Unbeknownst to Dalune, Lore was pregnant, meaning the other half of the Twilight would have passed to her descendants. Sada Chiyo's tracked Lupin down, so they're forced to run, taking the old woman with them. Jigen splits off to search for more info on the treasure. Sada Chiyo keeps track of Lupin, trapping him on a rooftop. The guerrilla from earlier, Lara, offers them aid in Gelt territory. Lupin's not there too long as he's suspicious of Lara's group, believing the Gelt are targeting him. The feeling's mutual, but before leaving he learns that his attackers are a splinter faction led by Galu, the traitorous son of the current elder. Zenigata's running a search on Lupin, unaware that the random passerby is his target. Jean arrives, annoyed that Lupin's still loose, and on returning to the station demanding they search Gelt territory if need be. Zenigata learns about the police's ego heritage, and that Jean is considered a hero among them as his grandfather fought in the war 100 years prior. Switching to a police officer disguise, Lupin finds the file room. As he discovers a file on Galu, Fujiko sneaks up on him. They discover a group photo from his university days, but more interestingly they notice Jean among the class. After taking some time to finish their night at the hotel, they meet with Jigen and decide to try and find Galu. Lupin decides to check out Lara's hideout, but finds it ransacked. Sadachio's also taken Lara captive, goading Lupin into a fight. He's faster with his whip than Lupin is with his gun, however. Lupin also takes a hit in the arm. With Lupin on the ropes, Sadachio closes in, but everyone's distracted by a flute. Goemon then dives in, faring a lot better against Sadachio. They once studied under the same master, but Sadachio dishonoured them and Goemon's been hunting him for some time. With Sadachio distracted, Lupin frees Lara. They try to slip out of town as a pair of caravanners. Unfortunately, Lupin's arm wound is still bleeding and they're forced to flee. Meanwhile, Galu's taken Lara's group captive, demanding info on the Twilight. When they can't provide any, he simply executes all of them. Fujiko watches this play out from the rafters. Sadachio spots her and brings her before Galu. He has Sadachio whip her clothes away when she doesn't talk, as it's easier to torture her for info while whipping skin rather than clothes. She tries to suggest an alliance, but he isn't listening, leaving Sadachio to deal with her. Lara leads Lupin through the desert, aiming to take him to an old Gelt ruin. Lupin grows excited, figuring it might be the treasure's location, and almost lets slip. Zenigata confronts the police chief, demanding to know why he wasn't informed about Lupin's actions. He's naturally brushed off, though Bultakari is willing to help out. As they close in on an oasis, Lara reveals to Lupin she hopes to rebuild the Gelt nation eventually. As they try and pursue, Zenigata learns that Bultakari's real name is actually just Kari, and that he's Gelt himself, hence why he's so certain of where Lupin and Lara are going. The heat intensifies and Lupin starts feeling it, so Lara goes to try and find a watering hole. Unfortunately, she ends up falling into a quicksand pit. Lupin's got none of his usual wires, so he resorts to using his clothes as a rope. It's not enough, as the knot he forms on them comes loose. Lara tells him to go on to the oasis, but Lupin decides to jump into the pit himself, not wanting her to die alone. He also confesses to the treasure's existence just before they go under. Jigen learns of the ruins thanks to the old woman. Lupin wakes up in a tent, somehow no worse for wear. He heads out just in time to spot Lara as she's about to have a bit of downtime in the oasis. For once, however, his eyes are not on the woman but on her diamond pendant, the other half of the Twilight. The old man emerges, revealed to be the Gelt's elder and confirming that Lara is Lore's granddaughter. Meanwhile, Goemon tracks down Sadachio to the Splinter Gelt's hideout, but they're already on the move as he arrives, having learned of Lupin's location. They've left Fujiko behind though, who gets Goemon to cut her free even if he can't directly look at her right now. Lupin and Lara arrive at the Gelt ruins, but Galu and his men aren't far behind. The elder asks how he could turn on his people like he did, but Lupin realises that that's not Galu. Zenigata and Kari arrive just in time to hear Lupin reveal Galu was being impersonated by Jean-Pierre. Unmasking, Jean tells him he killed Galu after learning of the Gelt treasure. A fight breaks out, with Jigen, Goemon and Fujiko joining the fray. Zenigata also agrees to a temporary truce for now. Goemon challenges Sadachio to a sword fight. Sadachio manages to break Zantetsuken's blade, but unfortunately for him, what goes up must come down. Jean's men are revealed to be random gangsters that Jean hired rather than actual Gelt. Jean himself has managed to grab Lara in the meantime, saying he'll be back for the treasure if Lupin wants to cooperate with his half of the Twilight. A gun then fires, shooting him in the head. The gunman is revealed to be the Elder, avenging his son. Everyone heads inside and performs a prayer for the Gelt's god. Lupin then hands Lara his Twilight half, and she puts the completed diamond into a groove shaped for it. Heading into the opened passage, they find an empty room with a message on the wall, talking about the bravery of the unified tribe. Lara's happy just to have the message, but the gang less so as it implies the treasure was seemingly stolen, if it existed at all. Fujiko kicks at a wall in frustration and it cracks to reveal a second wall lined with uranium-238. Wait, wrong movie. Diamonds. As the movie ends, everyone goes their separate ways, starting with Zenigata waiting for Lupin at the airport. Lupin's already on the plane, bidding Morocco and Lara farewell, while Fujiko leaves with Goemon, angry at being told she couldn't take any of the diamonds. Before he left, Lupin and Lara shared a goodbye, with her returning his half of the Twilight. He returns to Dalune, assuring him that Lara's doing well for herself. Probably one of the more straightforward adventures this time round. One of the fastest setups to the plot since Cagliostro 2 by my estimate. Here's a diamond, leads to a bigger treasure, go find it. Evokes a similar style of plot to Cagliostro 2, albeit with more nudity that was apparently censored with digital bikinis in one release. Stuff like Lara being the true heir to a nation and Lupin being for the most part more gentleman than thief, for example. That and two halves of a treasure becoming one to reveal the bigger prize. Oh, and Fujiko's blonde, can't forget that. The bait and switch of the treasure's reveal was also amusing, as I'm not really a fan of the whole friends coming together being the real treasure message at the best of times. Swear to God the One Piece had better be real. Have to admit it was rather surprising the Elder survived and that he dealt the killing blow to the villain, as one often comes to expect the old man dying and hoping to pass the dreams of the treasure to the new generation. Certainly earned that gunshot at any rate. The gang all felt they were much more separated than usual this time around too. Obviously still coming together at the end, but probably the most solo effort since Hemingway Papers. Zenigata kind of felt the most I'm here too of them all, but him and Kari showing up did allow for Lara's final rescue at least. Goemon certainly got the best entrance he's had in a while, managing to hold off Sadachio while even Lupin struggled. Sadachio's death was a bit sudden, but I guess Zantetsuken always finds its mark. I quite liked the ending montage of everyone too. Rare thing to see in Lupin, but gives a sense that the adventures will continue. I think one thing I wasn't too on board with in terms of plot was an implication that Dalune was Arsène Lupin himself. Never outright said, but they seem to be implying it in a few scenes. Not so much because I don't like the character, as his role as one of Lupin's mentors fits with Lupin obviously having history training to be the best thief. That and the snippets of his past with Laure and the Gelt were interesting enough, tying Lupin back to working with his granddaughter. Just the idea of him being the original Phantom Thief himself doesn't really fit, at least partly because most of the Lupin stories have him long dead. Still, solid enough story overall when it comes down to it. Next time, Lupin heads to an island of assassins to track down an old memory of a Walther P-38. Until then,